Good. Right, let's get the lighting so I can actually see, so these things aren't shining in my face. The weird lighting at the beginning when you were looking at me is because this room doesn't actually have a light. And if you're wondering why on earth you don't have a light in your spare bedroom, Alex, it's because this is a 16th century thatch cottage that I live in, and the ceiling is original, so we can't actually put a light in. It's protected. We're not allowed to do that. So we've got various table lamps and things, but it doesn't really provide the illumination that you need for streaming, certainly. But this room is a lot warmer than my shed. So there is obviously the original box and outer with the picture and everything. You also do get the instructions, also double, as a poster. How about that? Not many kits you get where that's the case, is it? Okay, let's see what we have here. I mean, fairly standard looking instructions, although this looks very weird. Very strange indeed, actually. I have to put, okay, rather than getting too much into that, those to one side for the moment, and take the plastic out. Oh, I see. The reason that's weird is because it is weird. Look at this. Wow, I've chosen some weird sort of alien biomechanical thing, which is good. I like that. Look at these. We have. Oh, that's kind of gross. Flexible. My house actually doesn't have a dungeon, but having said that, okay, so I actually have half of two houses at the moment, right? Because I'm still going through the divorce with my ex. Our house, me and my ex had together, does have a cellar that we didn't know about when we bought the house. It was when we went round to have dinner with or drinks with our neighbour. They were just like, "Oh yeah, apparently your house has a cellar," and we're just like, "Does it?" It didn't appear on any of the plans or anything. You know, we weren't told about it when we bought the house. And like, yeah, and they kind of told us where it was. But where it was, it had kind of a little raised area, but it was covered. It had like basically a piece of chipboard over it. So we pulled that up, and lo and behold, there was a trapdoor with stone stairs down to a little, what was originally the coal cellar. So yeah, it's not that far out of the bounds of possibility. This house doesn't have any foundations, so it does not have a cellar or a dungeon. All right, so let's have a look at some of these pieces. Get the sexy gogs so I can look at them appropriately. I'll put the instructions down here actually, because then you've got a light background to see some of these things. This is weird. Flexible. I don't know what it is. Vinyl. It's just strange. Put those aside. So, I mean, I have to say, the casting on these is, pretty good. There doesn't seem to be any flash at all on these pieces. It reminds me actually of a car kit in the way it's molded. you know, and the black as well. These kind of swept shapes. These are obviously some of these internal pieces that the instructions are referring to put inside these weird rubbery things that make me feel slightly uncomfortable. 1/60th scale as well, this kit. Which is interesting scale. I think they're kind of scaled to whatever size. I think the vinyl kit, just let me have a little look, I think it's 1/72nd. Oh no, sorry, 1/75th vinyl kit. Yes, it does really beg the question, doesn't it? Why was the cellar sealed up? Well, I kept all my models down there until I could pick them up. Okay, so we have a piece 59 here, made out of red. It's a little bit orange on there, but it's very red. Transparent plastic with some Japanese kanji that I can't read, but it says part 59. And this, okay, we have, this is part of the head. So I kind of get what people are saying about the casting quality, because the parts here, I mean, again, I don't know when this kit was made. I guess I could look on ScaleMates and find out. Unless there's a copyright date here. There possibly is, but it looks like it. If it is, it's in Japanese. So, not worry about that too much. And, I mean, it's got some scuff marks on it from being in a bag. And that bag being in a big bin of stuff. Ah, thank you, Fenris. It was tooled in 1990. Well, I must say, compared to other kits I've done from that time, this looks pretty good. I mean, you actually have some very, I don't even know whether the camera is going to show some, maybe if I can shine the part, some very small indented detail here on these parts. So, I mean, it looks, so far, doesn't look like there's any issues with it. And certainly for the effectively £5 that I paid for it, I think it will be an entertaining experience. Okay, here we have what look to be some like poly caps, like not quite the same material but similar. This is a low friction, flexible type plastic. You can see from wiggling it about here, which I think do all the joints. Yeah. Which seems to indicate that this is probably articulated. We have, again, these large sweeping pieces, very reminiscent of a kind of, you can imagine that being part of a Tamiya bike, 1/12 scale or something. The hands, single piece, which is quite interesting. There are some ejector pin marks on the inside of those, but I think that's pretty good that they have managed to get these on a two-part mold in such a, there's good detail on them. They're all splayed out. They're very three-dimensional, so they're not just like a hand, something like this. They are kind of in this claw kind of motion like that. That can't have been an easy die to make back in 1990. So that's interesting. Then we have these huge sort of blade wing things which, actually, I mean, that's about the size of a 1/72nd scale wing, In fact, it's not too dissimilar to the size of an F-111 wing, a swing wing. Different profile and shape, obviously, but we've got good engraved detail. So again, interesting. So my first impression isn't of horror, for sure. Headgear Emotion TFC NTV. No idea what that means. Bandai 1990, made in Japan. Okay. So perhaps if I'd actually just looked at the tooling, I could have got that answer, Fenris, but thank you for pointing it out in advance of me actually finding it there on the sprue. Very last thing I looked at. Let's see what it takes to put this thing together, shall we? So the first thing is to take the weird, flexible... This is quite strange. Oh, and I'm supposed to use scissors to cut off pieces of it. Okay. Guess what? I don't have any scissors on me. But I do have a hobby knife, which I presume will do the same job. I say that, I had it here a few seconds ago, and then it has vanished for me to... So, I'm supposed to cut at the lower of these, apparently. Well, let's start by cutting these. Actually, wow, that cuts super easily. But I'm kind of scared now of making a mistake here. That cuts so easily. Just drawing the blade across it basically slices it. Tell I'm worried about something when I've gone quiet. Okay, that makes it kind of look more gross. So this is a new experience. Maybe this wasn't the Gundam people had in mind. But you didn't expect me to just do a straight Gundam kit, did you? Now, does it mean I am supposed to cut out these pieces as well? Let's have a look. Yes, it does. So it wants me to cut out these little nodules, basically. Presumably we have to put things through those. Let's cut through this line here. I can see how scissors would make this very easy as well, but it does cut effortlessly. It does help that this is a new blade, I guess. It's weird stuff. Right, now, how to do these nodules. There are a lot of them. I'm quite looking forward to doing the vinyl kit as well, because I've known people who have done vinyl kits before. One of the guys in my model club that I was in years and years and years ago used to do vinyl kits all the time. So interested in adding to my, I wouldn't call it skills, but let's say repertoire as a modeler in tackling vinyl kit for the first time, sharing how that goes. This is really weird. I feel like I'm operating on something living. It does look like a trachea. This does take me back to some of my old dissections. It does have that sort of that give, but that slight, almost like cartilage-like resistance that you get from connective tissue. It is very biological, disturbingly biological, I would say, as a material. I'm not sure this is standard for Gundam kits. This may not, if you've seen this, if you're not used to the channel, this may not be what you expected. I think if anything, scissors would definitely make this easier. If you had a nice small pair of sharp scissors, I think you could. Now it just looks like a pair of, like, 80s trousers. So I can't imagine, obviously I don't think you're supposed to paint this, but I can't imagine trying to paint it because I don't know what would adhere to this. If anything. Just a little wary of how thin the bridge is between these two holes that we're supposed to cut here. Hi, James. Yeah, it was great to meet people on Sunday, well, and on Saturday. I would say, and if you were Airfix and Chill on Monday, you would have heard this echoed by most of the people, I think, that were at Telford. The chance to meet people. We have quite a solitary hobby in terms of the actual modeling we do. It's one of the great benefits of having a channel, of having other YouTubers that I talk to. It makes it far more social. But other than that, this can be quite an isolated hobby. So the chance to actually meet people physically at Telford was fantastic. I really enjoyed meeting all of the people who listen to Beyond the Box, the people that watch the channel. A lot of you have ordered kits from me as well through the shop, which I really appreciate. And some of you doing some pre-orders for the Vintage Wings Challenge. So I will probably, well, let's put it this way. If the shop is still going by the time Telford comes around next year, I am more than likely going to have a table. I probably won't be taking a lot of shop stock. That won't be why I'm there. I'm going to be looking at it much more as a, if you like, a marketing, PR, meet people, advertising kind of thing, I think. There are a couple of other possibilities, and it's early days. It's just getting into the how much would it cost, kind of what would be my purpose, all that sort of thing now, which is difficult to think about when it's an entire year away, and I've got to survive through the next 11 and a half months to be in a position to actually go. But still, it was great to be able to catch up with some very old friends. Again, I mentioned on Airfix and Chill, a chap called Phil Stachinkas, who used to be in my local model club. Super, super talented guy, most talented modeler I've met, I think. He used to work for Games Workshop, actually Forge World, sculpting, creating a lot of their vehicles. He's written several books on modeling, weathering, painting. We caught up. We haven't seen each other physically for almost 20 years. And straight away, he was just like, "Oh, I've seen you open a shop on Facebook. If you want me to come down and do some tutorials and stuff." Just super, super nice guy. So that sort of thing for me, makes a show. On the flip side, the modeling part of it, I was kind of actually done with by 3 o'clock on the Saturday. I hit saturation. I think there's only so many models you can look at before they all start to look similar. And it's just like, you've seen the Spitfire, and you're not really giving them their due because you've just seen so much. Which raises an interesting point about why people go to shows and what they're there to see. And competitions is another one. And I did say some of this again on Monday, and also when I was streaming on Tuesday, building the Hawk. But for me, the social side and doing a bit of trade stuff, going meeting other retailers and things, were the two real highlights. So all focused around people rather than focused around models. So there's a whole bunch of wibbly bits, as I will call them. I'm going to put in this bag over here, never to touch again because they are. Oh God, that's only the main thing as well, isn't it? I've got these two things to do as well. Okay, let's make quick, short work of these. Yes, so I did manage to get the latest podcast out last night, and working. Well, I say the latest. As you will know, if you have listened to it, it was actually recorded just after the Seeking announcement. So we have episode 9 I was working on today, and we have 2 more episodes recorded already. So plenty of episodes in the can, as it were. A lot of it has been waiting for editing time, which of course, as you know, has been delayed because of all of the various things that have happened. Shop and flood and shows and all that stuff. But as I think I've also mentioned on other places, we are moving to a video format to do the main recording in. Of course, we'll still produce the audio format, but I've also said, ironically, it's easier to edit the video, do all of that, put it up on our channels, and then we can just take the video file, stick it into Audacity, and produce the audio only format for putting on Buzzsprout, so it propagates through all of the Spotify and iTunes, all that kind of thing, very easily. So we should. My aim is really to get all these episodes out. We can get 12 episodes out in the first year. I think that's not bad going, even though we were trying to do weekly, reality cut in. So we've done more than 1 a month, not quite 1 every 2 weeks. And then I think we should accelerate in 2024 when we have more time and it's going to be our familiar editing platform, let's say. Okay. These are weird. And look, strange alien fly horses. I'm glad you enjoy the podcast. It's meant to be, you know, a kind of conversational discussion. Let's call it that. You know, we don't take ourselves too seriously, nor should anybody else. It's the kind of thing that we expect people could, you know, listen to on a commute or walking the dog or while modelling, you know, whatever. Something that doesn't require too much concentration as we witter in the background about our opinions about various modelling related things. It's interesting actually seeing. It's interesting for me actually going back to these and listening to them. I always listen to them after, well, of course I listen to them during editing, but then I listen to what's actually put out, because it's strangely it's different listening to an entire episode, and I like to ensure that I haven't fucked up at some point to let something through. You know, because there is the possibility of going and re-editing it and re-uploading it if that is the case, unlike YouTube, which doesn't let you do that. But it's quite interesting listening to yourself from several months ago, because you're not the same person, right, as you were in the past. I mean, both emotionally, mentally, and actually physically, your body, you know, replenishes itself continuously. So it's interesting listening to things and you think, oh, well, you know, some things have happened which may have changed what I feel about that, and some things have happened which I think are the same, and it's almost like listening to somebody else. Yeah. Right, we are done with all the weird stuff. That, I imagine, is going to take more time than a lot of the kind of faffing about with other stuff. So now we move on to the actual build. So we have to build the internal kind of skeleton of this thing. Now we've got the weird flesh, let's call it. So we need some of these mechanical parts. So part 40, well, part 48. Now, is that one of these weird things? No, it's not. There's all A and B on PC4. Okay. So, does appear that these are numbered in correct order, which is a good thing. I do like it when companies still employ logic to define where their parts are, rather than, I can't remember what kit it was I was doing recently, where it was an older kit, obviously, but the part numbers were just like, oh, here's part 1, here's part 7, here's part 32. It's just like, how am I supposed to tell? Spend more time trying to find the parts than actually building anything. Okay. 20. Part 19. So the plastic is, I would say, quite comparable to Airfix's current plastic, actually. It's quite flexible. Not flexible. It's rigid, but it's got a give in it. It's not brittle. Okay, so those are earlier parts. So not here. I think the parts I'm looking for are going to be on here. Yes. Yeah, a little bit softer. Well, no, not bit softer. Let's say it has a softer shear to it, so it cuts more easily. But it's not kind of soft in terms of, you can't scratch it with your thumbnail or anything. Let's just make sure these are cleaned up appropriately. Very easy just to take off that little bit of burr with a hobby knife. This goes into this piece. This piece comes on top. And that was that. Okay. So that is absolutely perfect in terms of the way that fitted together. Yeah. I guess I kind of wasn't expecting that. I know people have said you should try a Gundam kit and, the way they go together, but it's different experiencing it than it is being told it. So here's part 40 and 41. Okay, so these two pieces, I need piece 35 as well. The only disadvantage I can see to this is if you mess up, that was a pretty positive snap when I put those pieces together. I wouldn't really fancy trying to get them apart, So piece 35 goes in this area while this piece comes on. Okay, that was much more of a soft kind of push fit together rather than a snap. Okay, you have movement there. And then that piece goes into 28 there. And then we have our articulated joint, which then goes down the flesh sleeve. Ugh. The things I do for this channel, this is weird. Why did you make me build Gundam? This doesn't feel right. I tell you what this reminds me of. It is trying to dress little soldiers, like like Airfix, not Airfix, Star Wars figures from the 70s when they had those little clothes. It's kind of like trying to put one of those on. Okay. Well, now we have an articulated. I presume this is an arm. Interesting. Action Man. Yeah, I guess that was what I was thinking of, the experience. But the size is more like the Star Wars figures. But it is, yeah, like that kind of flexible vinyl stuff that they had. It's more flexible than that, because that was quite hard, as I recall it, the Action Man stuff. Right. And one presumes you have to build 2 of these, but I can do that in a second. Oh, actually, yeah. We're going to build the arm. So we need pieces 29 and 30. And they do seem very much like Airfix and others currently do, to include all of the stuff you need for this sort of assembly in more or less the same place, which is a good thing. 46. And pretty much it's all on this sprue. Now, the only slight confusion for me could be, are you supposed to put these on first, or these on first, or doesn't it matter? I presume for a little moment, that it's these first. So we have a large hole in the center here. Which that goes into. Oh. If I hadn't cut out the wrong pieces, I've cut out 29 and 31 instead of 29 and 30. This is why you dry fit. Yeah, there we go, that's better. And there we go, there's that click again. These 2 attachment points at the same place, so they're actually interfering with each other slightly. Let's just trim those down. And then there's a piece here, piece 46. It goes in that slot. Now, if aircraft are more your thing, Sully, if you don't know Sully of Sully Scale Models, he's a great guy. He does really, really nice stuff. He has a premiere tonight in 5 minutes' time on the Sea King. And he's done a really good job. And something a bit different. So I actually did 3D print some things for him. I won't give it away. Let's see if you can spot them if you watch his video, but do please support him. He's a really good guy. He deserves the views. If you want to stay for the whole of this, go and check his video out afterwards. It is, I think it's titled The Fall of a King, or Demise of a King. I can't remember. I literally saw it like half an hour, well, like an hour ago. I can't remember the video, but that's me. But Sully Scale Models, go and check it out. Really, really good build. He's done a fantastic job on it. And again, as I say, something a little bit more unusual, which is nice. So that has gone together really well. There is a gap along the top here. So although one of these snap together, but I am going to glue that. to see how the plastic reacts to some cement. Pretty well, I would say. Seems to have taken pretty well. Yeah, I think definitely I would use cement on these. Not sure I would trust or want to trust just the press fit. I'm not sure whether you're supposed to or not, because it doesn't mention, well, at least not in a language that I can understand, it doesn't mention that you require glue here, and I thought the point was that you didn't, but I mean, it's gone together pretty well. And it looks weird. Weird sleeve. I kind of like the weird, though. I think it's better than something regular. So let's try putting this this other piece together. So we need 49, which is one of these little joints. And 54 and 55. They are, as we looked at before, they look very much like pieces from a sports car or motorbike. So as I'm doing this, I'm kind of thinking, you know, would I ever do one again? I'm kind of thinking, I think this actually, we were talking a few weeks ago in Airfix and Chill about getting your mojo back. I think this would be a perfect sort of palette cleanser type of kit, especially if you've got, you know, Licensor said, you know, usually they hold together. Sometimes if they don't, it means you haven't done it right. So don't blame the kit. But also that the 90s kits, which is expected, right, don't hold up as well as the modern ones. In all fairness, I still think this would be quite a good way of, you know, if you're sick of panzers and aircraft, you know, much as I was at 3:20 on Saturday at Telford, just like I'd seen so many Spitfires, so many Mirages, so many different tanks and stuff. I was just like, I just want to go back to the hotel. I did still soldier on, taking pictures of competition stuff. Still putting that together. Kind of, when I put videos together, I try and find some sort of coherent message, or, you know, something I want to ask or show when I do these things. And that's kind of what I've been looking for. How do I want to do this? Because I don't want to just do a Telford show report, because this modeler did, you know, a very comprehensive one. You know, I can give a flavour of the show, but what's the point in me just doing the same as somebody else has already done? So putting that together into that form of, you know, what am I adding here? I'm going to ask an interesting question. Ah, that was a very positive click. And a very, pretty much perfect drawing. Oh, and I see, yeah, there we go. There's the There's movement. Oh, okay, yeah, that has quite a range of movement. Yeah, I mean, these would be quite good as palette cleansers, and I imagine as well, these would be ideal kits for kids. You know, if you want to get a kid into modeling, you know, here's a robot. Build your own robot and fight it. You know, you can play with this as a kid afterwards. I wonder why they aren't kind of more popular here for that kind of thing. So there is an enzyme used quite a lot in biochemistry called pronase. And it is enzymes, if you don't know, are basically little biological machines. They're proteins which do stuff. Pronase breaks down proteins. Now, some proteins are very specific. Some enzymes, some protein digesting enzymes are very specific about how they cut. So proteins are made up of about 20 different amino acids. And there's if you think of a pair of scissors which is coded to only cut at certain places, so it's a certain shape, right? So only cut. Imagine a keyboard. Got a keyboard, standard QWERTY keyboard, and say these scissors will only cut between the, if you've got a Q, W, E, R, T, and Y. So if you've got that sequence, then they will only cut in that sequence between the E and the R. So if you have S, W, E, R, T, Y, it wouldn't cut. It would just do that. That's a very specific enzyme, and enzymes like that exist, and they're very useful in biochemistry because you can cut proteins into pieces, and you know exactly where the cuts have happened. And yes, I am doing my professor piece here. Thank you. And the reason I'm saying this is pronase is such a protein, but it's very non-specific. Pronase will just chew up proteins anywhere, and it just reduces them to basically a sludge. I feel like I am pronase, right, in terms of a modeling analogy. I'll pretty much do anything. You know, any kit, given enough incentive or reason or time. I don't look at things and say, I will never do that. I can say I don't have any interest in it, or, you know, that doesn't look like something I'm particularly wanting to do and stuff. But ultimately, if the kit's there and I've got time and nothing else to do, you know, I'll do that. And this is a good example, you know. I'm actually pretty impressed with just this arm that I've made. I mean, the other thing is, right, that just pops out. I haven't glued that. It's a friction fit. It's a, you know, you can see on the part here. If you can see that on the camera, let's just move it up a little bit. See on the instructions, these are like little split rings. So it's a friction fit holding the piece in, which means that, yes, it has a couple of sink marks here. You can possibly see them. It's difficult on black plastic, I know. If I do the light, you might just be able to see those sink marks on the palm piece there. So it has sink marks. It has 4 of them, actually. Sink mark there. Sorry, not a sink mark, a pin ejector mark here, 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 and here. He says, actually, take it off camera. There, 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 there. Well, obviously, the jig has got 4 pins. Just use it to push it out. Probably because it's such a complex piece, it needed that, right? No, those actually wouldn't be too difficult to fill, I don't think, because they're quite deep and they're sculpted around here. So I think you could do that actually without damaging any of the surrounding detail. Having it just pop out means that I can do that at my leisure, right? I don't have to do it now, otherwise it's going to be inaccessible or anything like that. So, I mean, considering I've used glue on two pieces, this and this joint here. That's the only two pieces I've used glue there, and I have an articulated arm here. It's pretty nice. Yeah, it does look quite good. I kind of see where the comments were coming from. I will admit, and again, not my chosen specialized subject. Would I do another Gundam kit? I think for sure. I think especially if losing your mojo, and you want to get back into it, and you want to get something built, see a result quickly. This is kind of perfect. And again, I think for a kid, especially a kid who's not really into historical stuff or vehicles and things, perhaps one that doesn't have that much attention span initially, you could get them interested in something that is creative like this. Like, our hobby is a creative hobby, with something that, ultimately, they can play with once they've done, which also gives them incentive to finish, right? And it's not too difficult to do along the way. This is something that a parent helping them, getting the pieces out and stuff, they could actually, push together, and they've got a cool robot they can fight with. I think that's ideal entry point to the hobby for somebody who might not be traditionally drawn to something that Airfix or Tamiya, Revell might make. Not so much Revell, actually, because Revell do a lot of film franchises. So Fenris is the guru here. I feel I'm not worthy. Individual pieces for each finger, 2 for the palm, so you can build the entire hand. That is crazy. But I can see it, right? You can kind of see. And articulation, okay, it makes it a little bit toy-like, right? But actually getting stuff that articulates well, it's not easy to do, right? You've got to have some good precision. So I wouldn't say I'm a fan. A fan might be a bit strong. I think I'm convinced of the quality for sure, considering this is what, a 34-year-old kit. Just building that arm in the limited time I have, it's taken about half an hour to do that, I guess, after the false start and talking about all the bits, the cutting out of this thing and all the gabbing. That's pretty good. I mean, would I be as convinced if it looked like the Alex robot? If it was more like this? No. But I mean, that's a joy of modelling, right? I mean, there were a lot of Gundam models, I know, and Fenris, talking about 300 under your belt. I mean, that's a lot. But there's a lot of choice, right? I almost did get a monstery sort of thing as well to go kind of in opposition to this, but then I thought, if I have a horrible experience the first time, then that thing's just going to sit there forever, so it's a bit pointless. I'm actually going to skip the other arm for the time being, because I want to get more variety out of this experience. Because, yeah, you can see me do another arm, but you can just watch the same bit twice, right? Right, feet. Those are feet. These are feet. We have pieces 36 and 37. With that interstitial PCA. So now we are using the flexible stuff. I don't know what it's actually made out of, so. But yeah, this is very much like soft polycap, low friction material. So I presume then these pieces are just to hold that in place, and actually what's holding these two pieces together are these pins, because a low friction material is not what you use for a structure. And then piece 16, which is a weird sort of shape. I'm sure I just saw them, yes, on these wing sprues. So you see, I'm also not doing a whole load of cleanup on these, especially on these structural pieces, because they're not going to be seen. I don't think they really need too much cleanup, you know, in terms of their function. So these feet pieces, foot pieces, feet pieces, foot pieces, isn't it? A little bit of cleanup there. Otherwise, these things are going to fall over. Okay, let's go up to the foot. I do like the positive kind of snap that they make to kind of, you know, gives you that assurance that you've got it right. Why do they always look like they're wearing heels? Strange Japanese trait. Okay, we then have this, which is, I presume, a leg. Yes, it is a leg. Piece 53 and 58 with a PCA between them. We also need this piece, 43, which is this large, let's call it spine piece of the skeleton. Three. Take both of the 53s at the same time, so we do have two legs. $58. It's a very easy plastic to cut. 53 and 58 together like so, with one of these polycap, large polycap pieces in between them. Fits very snugly, which is good. That piece comes together. Again, these pieces sort of do that soft close, but perfect union, but not giving you that snap because they are kind of, what's the word? They don't have those internal pieces because they want to push them together, I guess, completely, so they don't want to leave any possibility of you not having that. Let's make another one of those while we're here. I mean, I can see, especially if you've done one of these before, you know, you could kick this out in short time. 3 and 4. Again, I guess if you wanted to as a modeler, yes, you can do all these pieces. But again, coming to it from the point of view of trying to get a younger modeler into the hobby, there's no glue here, you know, which is a good thing for a younger modeler for sure. Kids are much more sensitive to solvents than adults. It's one of the reasons, if you didn't know, that kids aren't allowed to use petrol pumps, gas pumps in the US. I don't know what the rules are in the US, but in Europe, kids can't do that. But their lungs are much more susceptible to solvent damage than adults. So it isn't a namby-pamby nanny state, it is actually quite an important thing. It's kind of one of those Brexit, you know, what did the EU ever do to it for us? It's like, well, some fairly important health and safety law, which actually does make sense. Okay, there we go. We have a leg. What's clever here as well is that these pieces are made perpendicular to each other, 90 degrees. So structurally, that prevents the whole thing, like, you know, all splitting apart, because the shear forces are diversified, right? They're not all in one axis plane. Right, now what I have to do with this leg is touch the weird thing and put it into this sleeve. This is actually the hardest part of this model, is having to put your condom on. But that, look at that. See the holes that I cut in this? All these little blobs that it made me cut out. I've aligned perfectly with the holes in this. Which for a soft part is pretty bloody good, actually. And then got my second piece to put on here. Just put it around the right way. Nice. So they're not supposed to in the US either. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's personal responsibility at the end of the day for parents and things. But yeah, if you have lung issues in later life, you know who to blame now. I mean, I've used a horrific amount of really nasty solvents during my tenure, mostly at university. For a long while, actually, I used to use glacial acetic acid, which is a sensitizing agent, which means the more you use it, the more you become sensitized to it. And there was a long time when I couldn't bear to go in fish and chip shops. Acetic acid is, of course, vinegar. But glacial acetic acid is like its pure form. It's really nasty stuff. Yeah, I mean, I never liked acetic acid, sorry, vinegar on my chips anyway. But I just couldn't bear to be in like proximity of it after using it in the lab. Right, so this has two ways to go. So it has two little pins. two little pins on this side, they are offset different ways. So it does tell us in the instructions that looking at it this way, it should be like so. Not that I can read Japanese, but these symbols are the same there, and these symbols are the same there. So it goes this way. And somehow I'm supposed to put these in those sockets. Okay, that worked. Good, good. How am I meant to do the other one? Yeah, okay. So this might be challenging. I think if I push that back out, I can sort of pull this back along so that leg is perpendicular. Over there, maybe. Ooh. It feels so wrong. Okay. It doesn't help that you cannot see what you are doing. But now we're there. Those are the holes. That's the end. Ah! Aha! Success! We have a weird thing. Yes. Oh, I see. There we go. There's the holes for these tabs. There. This is the strangest thing. Yeah, they are, aren't they? I must have chosen the only Gundam with these weird rubber bits. It's interesting, but yeah, weird. All right. So having done that, we can move on. Oh, so now we actually put together armor and stuff. It's abdomen? I don't know what this thing is. Okay, so we need pieces 45 and 51. 45 is this piece here. 51 is right next to it here. Nice and easy. I'm going to do these pieces first because, as you saw when I was just fiddling about with that weird rubbery thing, these look like the hardest pieces to put on, just because you have to move this skin sleeve. It doesn't matter what you call it, it just sounds odd, doesn't it? It looks like a cross between something you find in a biology class and something that's in a sex education. Like a Anne Summers or something. Right. So piece 51 has the wider things, I guess, and this has the shorter ones. So you sort of have to pull this down a little bit. for his groin protector. Yep. Goes on there. The thing is, it feels like skin when you're moving it. It's just like, this is wrong. And this rear piece comes on these two, like that. Oh, and then locks in to two little pins on there. There. All right. There. We have his metal nappy on. Oh dear. Now pieces 23 and 24, which are the large leg armor pieces. Where are they? Nope, not there. Ah. These are sort of the thigh pieces? Yes. 23 and 24. Oh, artificial muscle system. Okay. I'm quite astonished, Fenris, that I've managed to find a Gundam after you've done 300. I found some weird one that you haven't. Not sure whether that's something to be proud of or ashamed of. Oh, but that goes together very, very simply. And then let's put this over the rest of the artificial muscles. Ah, there we go. Nice click out of that one. I mean, I kind of get it. I kind of maybe that's why I was drawn to it. You know, it's the biology side of me. Can't repress it. I'm actually quite fond of this now. Just because it's so weird. And once I can see, and maybe you can tell me whether this is common in these Fenris, but there is kind of a pattern to them. Kind of now I've been doing it for a few minutes, for like an hour. There's kind of certain logic you can see. There's certain common things that are done. Both of these parts have the round pieces at the back and the attaching pieces, the little pin bombs at the front. Okay. Now we can bring in our foot. Here's the foot we made earlier, which I don't think and did, because I can't remember which one I did. No. Not that it kind of really distinguishes left and right here anyway in a way that I can understand. So we do have quite a few of these polycaps here. But the smaller ones, polycap B this time. So we have 4 of these. Which go on both the pins on here and also the pins this. Do this side first, that's indicating this side first. Get his artificial muscle trouser out of the way. And then the large armour pieces which cover pieces 1 and 2 to start with. And these are enormous. Okay. Okay, these sort of slide in. Can't really see this. I'll try and make it visible when I do the foot. You can see these polycaps actually have like a, what are they? There's like a central piece, and then they have 2 little pieces out each side, 2 little wings on them. And you have the equivalent shape in here. So it's basically a low friction joint. You are acting like a built-in lubricant. I mean, there's some clever engineering in here. And there we go. We have our huge armored thigh-high boot. With artificial muscle and everything. Right, let's see if, because I can do, again, I can do the other leg. Let's move on to the face. I call it a face because if it's got an artificial muscle structure, then presuming it's kind of moving. So 33 and 34. I do love the way that these, you know, supposedly ultra sophisticated robot things always end up looking, you know, slightly samurai-ish, you know. which I always, it's a strange thing in, strange cultural thing. I mean, if you think that's like us making a tank that looked like Henry VIII, right? Or a knight in armor. It's just a bizarre idea. So again, casting on these, there are some pin ejector marks. Because the plastic is very amenable, it is quite. I hesitate to use the word soft because it is, quite rigid, but just call it soft because we all understand what that means. It's quite soft. It's quite easy to get around those. But I mean, where it needs to be sharp. I mean, this is a really complex piece, actually. That has, a casting outside of the main plane of the injection molding itself. And that is molding both sides. So again, that is quite a technical piece to make. So it's quite impressive just from that side of things. 47 is its brain box. Get that in. And then we need that little red transparent piece we put over here. So this only goes in one way. But the other thing is, these are all done so that it'll only fit one way. You can't get it wrong. When I say you can't get it wrong, it's going to be more difficult to get it wrong if all these pins were the same size. Oh, that's very easy. I was expecting it to be harder than that, and it wasn't. And this just, as far as I can see, just pops in there. Yep. Okay. And this just closes it up. Like so. There. Very menacing. Okay, let's pop that into his body. So we need parts 52, 44. Pretty obvious which those are. Two. 44. Okay. So these have a couple of polycaps in again. PCA, big ones. Oh, if I cut that, quite go across. So again, these little lugs just push in. We have piece 11. Which is, where do we have piece 11? There's this big lugged piece here, which goes in the chest, like so. The head locates there, and then these are brought together. All right. Doesn't just go from side to side, it sort of looks menacingly down as it does. Okay, I'm going to skip the wings just basically to do this, just to put this body using that big piece there. There we go. Onto the main piece. Because then I can come back for this. So the wings, should put him to one side a second. Right, so 17, 18. I'd normally trim these, edges of a wing, sand them rather than trim them, I think, but on a stream it's far easier, quicker to just trim. So they literally just go together. Okay. Then 7 and 8. Oh, yeah, that's. Oh, and they even fold. Look at that. So, that's all good. Then these pieces come into this kind of backpack part. So on reflection, I mean, this cost me, £5. This kit. And obviously, I've been streaming it, so I've been kind of rushing bits and kind of not paying about 100% attention all of the time on what I'm doing, which is always a slight disadvantage of a stream. But I mean, I've quite enjoyed doing this, actually. I'm kind of a little bit surprised at how much I've enjoyed it, actually. For £5, I mean, certainly. And as a palette cleanser, getting your mojo back, doing something different, I think I would definitely recommend trying out a Gundam kit if you can find one that takes your fancy. I mean, for me, this was a bit unusual. It didn't look like a regular, derpy robot, which did bring with it the unfortunate skin suit artificial muscle system. But I mean, these are not difficult kits to do. And if you spent, I mean, literally, it's taken me, what? After messing around with the false start at the beginning of the stream with the power issue, and then talking about the other bits and the reason, rationale behind this, it's been about an hour and a half to this point. Of a very smooth, trouble-free, different experience in modeling. You could easily take, a bit more time over this. It's still probably not going to be more than, 3 hours, I would say, that you're going to be able to put into this. I mean, of course, you can always put more time in, but to do, a really good, reasoned approach job to this, I think 3 hours is not an unreasonable amount of time to expect. That is, that's fast for model building, right? It's very undemanding if you're not doing the skin suit. You get those nice, satisfying snaps when things go together. I mean, there's not much other than the subject, which, as I say, isn't an interest of mine. I think this is really something I wouldn't hesitate to recommend to somebody to do. And I think if it's a subject that interests you, I think you've got a wealth of stuff. Bandai make a huge amount of kits. I mean, I think they are the most prolific kit manufacturer in the world over history. If you go on ScaleMates, look at the number of kits that Bandai have made. I think it's in tens of thousands. And obviously, they don't just make Gundam, but that is the vast majority of their kits. So I think dismissing it out of hand, is a mistake. Yes, culturally, Gundam is something that is very much rooted in East Asia. But that doesn't detract at all from what's actually being made here, or the fact that you can just spend a couple of hours doing something that is very different, a bit unusual, bit of a palette cleanser, It doesn't give you any hassle. It doesn't demand anything of you. You're not thinking about interior colours or colours at all, because you don't even have to paint this. There's a lot to be said for it, actually, I think, which is not necessarily the experience I expected out of this. I came into it with pretty much no expectations, I can say. You can see I've just done the other wing quickly while I was gabbing. And we've just got this, which just has 3 locating pins to get that satisfying snap. It's funny, actually, after doing this, I don't know whether you find this, Fenris. After a little while of doing this, that's kind of quite almost like you're waiting for that snap sound. Is that just me? This actually then hooks on at the back here. That is not a permanent fit either. You could take that off later. So there's our imposing, weird biomechanical thing. And these are all fully, yeah, you can post this in whatever you like. So as I say, you know, if you want a child to get into this, who loves robots and stuff, I mean, this kind of thing is perfect, I think. Gets them making, gets them used to building. You know, it's creative. It makes them think. You know, it's not just buying, you know, another toy, you know, that they play with. You know, and I think as well, if you're a child, I mean, I found this as a child because this is common. If you built something, you are psychologically invested in it. If you're given something as a child, a toy, you know, quite often, if it doesn't hit a chord, you know, it's just a toy, right? And the reuse you get from it, the value you attach to it is lessened because of that. So I think, you know, having a toy that they can make, I think gives them a little bit more, gives them that creative impetus, you know, maybe starts them off on a long and happy modelling career. See, I know, Pan, I know absolutely nothing about Gundam at all. So I literally just went and, you know, saw this. It's a Bandai kit. It's a robot thing. Yes, it's a Griffin Lacore, but I didn't know what that meant. So to me, it's a Gundam. If you missed the beginning, I do actually have a Gundam, Gundam Alex, which of course I had to get because it's Alex, but that is of course an Elfin kit, vinyl kit, which I got again because it was Alex rather than anything else. And really, it was, you know, it's in that genre. So ignore the fact I haven't done his left side, his right side. Just looking at him from his left, you see, he's perfectly finished, all fully posable. I mean, as a modeler, I'm dying to paint this, but there's no need to, right? You don't have to do that. But I can imagine you paint this up. I mean, I've still painted black, right? But get some weathering on it. It could actually look quite cool. Of course, that's why I chose the black one. So yeah, that's my first experience in, you know, anything vaguely Gundam. And I must say, I am. I don't think I'm going to be going and building Gundam all the time now, but certainly. Oh, I've missed a bit. Missed his tail thing. It's more the same, right? You've got the idea. And I'll put all of that on there. But yeah, I would definitely like to. I will probably go back and glue the joints here, and I'll probably, in fact, do a video on painting it, because I think painting something like this, there's no reason that you have to, especially as a palette cleanser. But I think it could also be a palette cleanser to paint something like this, because it is, again, it's a bit different. It allows you to try some different kind of things, sort of weathering something which isn't meant to be super grimy. So yeah, interesting. That was my first Gundam build. Thank you for coming along for the joint, and the chickens have just made an appearance on the other project. Excellent. So yes, I 3D printed the chickens for Sully for his diorama. Please do go and check out Sully's scale models. The seeking he's done is fantastic. Eventually, I'll get this back up to me. You have to look at the Gundam. Just try and get some light. There we go. So the seeking he's done is exceptional. He's done a far better job than I did on the seeking. And I think, above and beyond the actual model itself, the reason I think he's done a much better job is because I just did a building review, right? I built the kit as a review. I didn't do anything special to it at all, just built it. Sully tells a story, right? And I think if you tell a story with a model, that always adds a little bit more. So, whether it's sort of a famous aircraft or, the aircraft of a famous pilot or whatever, I think if you're telling a story, and if that comes through a diorama, that's all well and good. But please do go and check out Sully's video. She's done a really good job. It really deserves your time to go and have a look at it, far more than me building a strange artificial muscle robot. So with that, thank you all so much for joining me on your Friday night. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you, if you're around for FX and Chill on Monday. I'll catch you there. Cheers.